Alright YouTube, so we are dusting off an old series of mine. I've only done 3 of these videos in the past. It's been over half a year since I did the last one. Welcome back to another edition of Roasting the Comment Section. This time, the 7 things we probably won't see in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So the reason why I started doing this shit last year was to respond to the hate comments, and I can convey better my point of view on things if I can say them verbally as opposed to typing them out, because what would be like a paragraph response I can say to you in like 10 to 15 seconds. So of course the video we're looking at today is the 7 things we probably won't see in Final Fantasy VII Remake. The video is actually doing better than it shows here. For some reason with YouTube, until you actually click on the video, you don't see the actual views. It's up to almost 8,000. And for a reason that's really unbeknownst to me, the like ratio is kind of bad. It's not necessarily polarizing because the likes are a lot bigger than the dislikes, but it's a lot of dislikes for my channel. Generally speaking, and it's not me blowing myself, my likes are usually pretty good. The thing that I find funny, and we'll probably look at some of these comments, are a lot of people seem to take this video as a list of things that I don't want to see in the game, and that is far from what it is. The video is literally titled, The 7 Things We Probably Won't See in Final Fantasy VII Remake. These are things that may not make it into the game. This isn't me taking the shit out of the game. I don't have any goddamn control over the game. It's the shit that probably won't make it. For instance, there's a scene where Cloud beats the shit out of Aerith. He knocks her to the ground and keeps hitting her while she's knocked down. You cannot tell me that in a modern video game, with the way people get triggered these days, there is going to be a scene in Final Fantasy VII Remake where a man beats up a woman. It's just not going to happen. We also have the events of Wall Market, which I do think will be in the game to some degree. I just don't know what all they're going to incorporate, because we have the cross-dressing scene, which we've since learned, I guess, that it's actually going to have that. They're not going to take out the cross-dressing scene, but that seemed like a bit of a controversial type thing that they might not have. Then there was the Honeybee Inn, which is quite literally a brothel, and you go in there and you can get in a bathtub with multiple dudes. Cloud passes out, a guy gets on top of him and essentially humps him, and then you have Don Corneo, who is quite literally a fucking rapist. He kidnaps women, obviously against their will because it's kidnapping, and he takes them back to his mansion, chooses which one he wants, and then takes them to his room and bangs them. He's a fucking rapist. You can't tell me we're going to have rapists and woman beaters in Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's just not going to happen. But in the end, the video was 7 things we probably won't see. Probably being the key word. Everything I made in that video could be in the game. I'm not saying I want any of it taken out. I love everything about Final Fantasy VII. I want to see everything in it. I just want to make a video about things that probably won't quite make it. Anyways, we've talked enough about this shit. We need to get into some comments. Here we have one of the most recent comments on the video from Trey Randolph, who says, apparently no one says attention. About a few weeks after the original announcement, the director, who is the same director as the original Final Fantasy VII, along with the entire same team, said that the remake will have no differences. It will be the same exact game. First and foremost, pretty much none of this is true. They've already said that things are going to be different from the original game. They've already stated that. Just simply that. Things that worked back in 1997 won't quite work in modern day, so they're going to change the story to where it fits to more of the modern audience. They might be incorporating things from some of the branch-off stuff. We might see stuff from Crisis Core or Before Crisis. Probably nothing from Advent Children or Dirge of Cerberus, but they're going to change things about the story. That's been known forever, so you're wrong right there. I mean, right here we have a quote from Tetsuya Nomura himself that says, concerning Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is a title loaded with a lot of mystery for now, it will be different from the original Final Fantasy VII. On top of that, the director of Final Fantasy VII was Yoshinori Kitase. He is not the director of Final Fantasy VII Remake. That is Tetsuya Nomura. And see, man, this is why I started doing these videos originally. The people who leave the dislikes on the videos, the people who comment, tell me that I'm wrong and all this shit, literally don't know what the hell they are talking about. That's why I enjoy making this content. There's also a point in the video where I talk about Aerith's death, which of course I know is going to be in the game. They have to kill her. That's just part of the story. It's one of the most important character deaths of all time in gaming. So she's going to die. But I talk about how it doesn't really make sense. We can't bring her back. We have Phoenix Downs. We have healing spells. We have healing magic. All these type of things. Why can't we bring her back to life? And people argued with this. I also had people point out that Phoenix Downs don't actually revive people. They just cure KO, knocked out. People don't actually die in Final Fantasy. And you know what? For the sake of this video, let's agree with that, just for now. Actually, I want to read this one really quick. You are FF Fun, and you don't even know how Phoenix Down works. Characters in fight, when they lose HP, are not dead, they just knock down. PD can't revive someone who is dead. Even if the status effect, when a character's health goes from whatever it is to 0, is considered knockdown, it is still death. That's why in plenty of Final Fantasy games, it's usually called revive, like to bring somebody back to life. It's called a revive magic or life. You can give them auto life, whatever the case. If they were actually knocked out, then why the hell would the magic to bring them back be called life unless they were actually dead? On top of that shit, we have enemies throughout the Final Fantasy series that are labeled as undead, and you can throw a Phoenix Down at them and kill them. Now tell me, if a Phoenix Down didn't have to deal with life and death, then why the fuck would it kill an undead enemy? On top of all that, if battles didn't involve life or death, then you would never truly defeat an enemy or a boss, they would inevitably come back, right? But all that bullshit aside, we'll theoretically take the L on this one. I still need an explanation as to why Sephiroth, with one sword through Aerith's back, kills her. People seem to, not understand what I'm trying to get at here. You fight enemies throughout the entire game who are constantly attacking you, constantly hitting you with swords and explosions and gunfire and all this shit, and nobody dies then, so why does one sword through Aerith's back kill her? Hell, save for Sephiroth, the final boss of the game has an attack called Supernova that launches like a meteor or whatever it is through our galaxy and through our solar system. It rips through Jupiter, blowing it up. It crashes into our sun. It ignites the sun. The sun starts expanding and envelops Mercury and inevitably envelops Earth. Our characters in the fight are then hit by that and do not die as long as their HP is high enough. Now tell me, if I can survive a supernova, if I can survive in Final Fantasy VII with the sun goddamn exploding and hitting me, why does a simple sword through Aerith's back kill her? Explain that shit to me. If you can make a logical explanation for that, I will fucking agree with you. Yes, stabbing somebody through the back with a sword is probably going to kill them, but this isn't the real world. This is Final Fantasy. You can be down to 1 HP out of 9,999. I can snap my fingers and you're back to health like nothing ever happened. This is not the real world. It is a video game world. It does not make any goddamn sense, and you can't defend that. And shit, if we're going to talk about real world, compare Final Fantasy VII to how things work in the real world, after Sephiroth does Supernova, he won. His goal was to destroy Earth, and he fucking did it. There is no solar system left, save for Sephiroth 1. You'll just be floating around in space after that. I also have people that got triggered by a comment I made in the video where I mentioned the cargo ship segment where you guys are sneaking on the cargo ship going from Junon to Costa del Sol, and you guys go undercover dressed as soldier members. And I mentioned how Barret and Red 13 are going to stand out. Red 13 is a flaming dog cat thing with bright red fur and a flaming tail, and he's standing on his hind legs, can barely even walk. And you tell me that wouldn't stand out to some people on the ship? Not to mention Barret, who is one of the very few black characters in the game. There's Barret and there's Rude from the Turks, and then probably some nameless NPCs that are very few black people in this game. So he's going to stand out just because of that alone. Not to mention that he's a big, muscular, hulking black guy. And also, oh, I forgot, he has a fucking gun for an arm. They are both going to stand out. It's not going to work. Here we have a comment that says, did this guy just say Barret and Red 13 should hid in a basement because Barret is a big black guy and Red 13 is an animal? What does the color of someone's skin makes him more of animal? That makes sense, of course. And Tortoise Gamer replies with, yeah, I felt it was pretty racist too. Really quickly, let's take a look at this segment. The problem with this is that at the time you have a character in your party called Red 13 who's this like dog or cat-like creature who's standing on his hind legs. Obviously he has a flaming tail and red fur all over his body, so this just kind of wouldn't work. Like obviously if you see this hairy fucking dog in an outfit standing on its hind legs, you'd probably notice it. It's one of those things that was pretty funny for the time, and at a younger age is pretty funny, but it's not something I think they'd implement into the Final Fantasy VII Remake. It looks like it's going to be more of like a realistic and serious toned game, which might take away from some of the charm of the original game, but I honestly don't even want to see Red 13 trying to dress up like a soldier. It'd just be kind of stupid these days. And kind of in the same realm of things is Barret. I'm pretty sure he's like the only black character in the game, outside of maybe some random NPCs that I'm not thinking of. He also has a gun for an arm, so he's going to stand out. He's a big, hulking black guy. He's probably going to stand out on the ship, so I think they could redo this scene with maybe Red 13 and Barret, maybe hiding below the deck or something, instead of doing what they did in the original game. The entire point of that segment was me talking about how they're trying to be stealthy. They're trying to blend in and hide on the ship, and Barret being like the only black guy on the ship. The other sailors are going to know there's not a big black guy with a gun arm that works for us. The soldier dudes are going to know there's not a cat dog-like thing that works for us. Barret and Red 13 are going to stand out immensely. There's no way they're going to blend in. And I was talking about how they might change that potentially, who knows. Barret, they could get away with. You could do Barret. Maybe he just hides the gun arm or something like that. But Red 13, you cannot do that. I don't know how this shit got misconstrued to be racist. I was not racist. I played the entire segment in its entirety with no cuts for you guys. I don't know why it's pixelated either. But I don't know how this shit got misconstrued as racist. Here we have a comment that says, your list sucks. Social justice warriors can just ignore the remake. I hope Square Enix knows better. And there's another comment below it that says, I believe they'll stay true to the game. This list is more of personal preference list it seems. That's how it comes across. Here we have a comment that says, disagree with most of the list. Balancing the gritty, depressing core story with humor was something Final Fantasy VII did very, very well, and I hope they keep things like cross-dressing Cloud or Nanaki, which is Red 13, dressing as a Shinra trooper to keep the balance in the remake. And here we have a comment that says, "This list sucks. You're taking a lot of classic moments from Final Fantasy VII, and all of these are from the beginning of the game, which is where a lot of people will be paying the most attention to, first impressions at least. Also, do you hate animals and black people or some shit?" And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this was never a list of personal preferences. These weren't things I didn't want to see in the game. These were things that we probably weren't going to see. Things that were quirky or weird, or things that would be deemed as offensive these days. That was all the list ever was. I can't even believe I have to verbally say this to these goddamn retards. If the list was things I didn't want to see, that would be the goddamn title. And also, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I wouldn't mind if all of these things were in the game. I wouldn't mind a shot-for-shot remake in this game with everything expanded. Towns being bigger, exploration in general being bigger. I'd be completely fine with a shot-for-shot remake. I would still buy that. It's just crazy to me that I actually have to say these things out loud for people to understand. Like, I don't know how this shit got misconstrued as racist, or how people thought this was a list of things I didn't want to see. Like, these things are very, very obviously not that. And these people being misinformed and not understanding what I'm saying is probably where the dislikes are coming from. Anyways, my dudes, that's the video. It feels good to be back. I would love to do more of these roasting in the comment section videos, but I don't often actually get people that comment hate or necessarily disagree with me, and that's actually a good thing. There are a few other videos that I can probably do this with, and if a video like gets a lot of hate or something in the future, I can make another video like this. But until then, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Turn on notifications, follow me on Twitter at @TheDashingDavid. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Give me forever for a while, give me forever for a while. Quit acting like